Hi guys, Yashi and Monica here. In this video we talk about the second part of the abdominals, the external and internal obliques and the transversus abdominis. We talk about the anatomy and function of the muscles and give you tips for your next workout. So whether you're a trainer, a yoga instructor or a fitness enthusiast, you will get something out of this video.
Four muscle groups make up the abdominal wall. In the first video, we talked about the anatomy and function of the rectus abdominis, our six-pack muscle. Now, let's continue with the external and internal obliques and the transversus abdominis. Now, starting with the external obliques, a sheet-like muscle located laterally and superficially in the abdominal wall. The muscle fibers run downwards and forward, so the direction of the fibers looks like the letter V, or another great way to remember, like you put your hands in your pockets. The origin is the external surface of the ribs 5 to 12, and the insertion or attachment of the muscle is along the linea alba, which is the midline of the rectus sheath. Remember, we talked about the rectus sheath in the previous abdominal video. Moving further downwards, the external obliques also insert on the structures at the front of the pelvis, on the iliac crest, the pubic symphysis and the pubic crest. Now the action of the muscle is to flex and rotate the trunk, or in other words, move the upper body from side to side and forward. Let's talk about a movement. When both external obliques contract, it creates a trunk flexion, and with that assists the action of the rectus abdominis. When only one side of the obliques is contracted, it creates a trunk rotation. For example, when we contract the right external oblique and we keep the V shape of the muscle fibers in mind, it will rotate the upper body to the left. Or in other words, it will draw the same side shoulder forward. An interesting fact about the external obliques is that it's actually easier to pull the origin towards the insertion, which means moving the rib cage towards the rectus sheath. And you can feel that when doing sit-ups with rotations. It's much easier to lift and rotate the rib cage than to do the same with the hips. And of course, the external obliques help to compress the abdominal contents, and with that help to stabilize and support the vertebral column to keep us upright. So clearly, the external obliques play an important role in movement and support. And another fact worth mentioning, the superior fibers of the external obliques intertwine with the serratus anterior muscle at the rib cage, which is important when we're talking about movement and the kinetic chain. But we'll talk more about that in our program. Let's move on to the internal obliques. They are slightly smaller than the external obliques, and their location is on the side of the trunk underneath or deep to the external obliques. And as you can see, their muscle fibers run in the opposite direction. And this is important. The muscle fibers run forwards and upward, and with that create an A shape. Or to give you another visual, they form the roof of a house. And when we compare the direction of the muscle fibers with the ones of the external obliques, they actually cross each other at a right angle. The origin is the anterior part of the iliac crest, extending downwards to the lateral half of the inguinal ligament and connecting with the thoracolumbar fascia on the backside. The insertions are the ribs 10 to 12 and again the linea alba. The actions of the internal and external obliques are more or less the same, flexing and rotating the trunk, but with one important difference. When, for example, contracting the right internal oblique muscle, it produces a rotation of the upper body to the right side. And like I mentioned before, it helps to compress the internal viscera and supports the abdominal cavity. But to make sure we understand the muscle activation of the internal and external obliques, let's go back one more time and use our example of rotating the upper body to the right side. Based on how the muscle fibers of the internal obliques move, a rotation of the upper body to the right side involves the right internal oblique muscle. But remember, when we consider the direction of the muscle fibers of the external obliques, the V shape, it involves the opposite side, the left external oblique muscle. I know this takes a moment to be understood, so let me show you this on an illustration. The last muscle I want to talk about is the Transversus Abdominis, the deepest of the abdominal muscles. And like the name says it, the muscle fibers run transverse, meaning horizontal, like a bodyweight lifting belt across the abdomen. The transversus is also often called the corset muscle of the body because of its location and action. The origins are the inner surface of the ribs 7 to 12 and the costal cartilages, the iliac crest, the lateral third of the inguinal ligament, and in the back on the thoracolumbar fascia of the 5 lumbar vertebrae. The insertions are on the linea alba, the bottom of the pubic crest, and the pubic symphysis. And when we're talking about the action of the muscle, the transversus does not produce any rotation or flexion. Because the muscle fibers run horizontally, we can't really control that muscle like we can the obliques. The action of the transversus abdominis muscle is to compress the abdominal cavity, and with that help to tone the abdominal organs. And because of the attachments, the muscle helps to stabilize the lumbar spine, the rib cage, and the pelvis.
Let's get the obliques into action. I'll show you a short sequence you can do in the gym or in your next yoga workout. And just on the side, it doesn't matter if you do fitness, practice yoga, or stand in line somewhere. It's important that you bring your focus to your abs whenever you can. If you pull the belly button slightly in your habit, you provide support to the muscles around the lumbar spine, which is a great way to prevent lower back problems. Now, since we transition in and out of side plank in our fitness-based yoga sequence, the activation of the transversus muscle is important to create core stability and to activate Uddiyana Bandha, which is one of the energy locks we use in yoga to regulate the energy flow. We'll talk more about the energy locks in our program. So come to a plank pose with the shoulders directly over the wrists, the feet hip-width distance apart, and your body in one straight line. Lower down into chaturanga or yoga push-up, and as you come up, shift the weight over to the right side to come to side plank. Reach the left arm forward and then circle the left arm backwards and down and lower the hips down towards the mat. The obliques will lift the hips back up and you reach the left arm back forward. Bring the left hand down, come back to plank, and then lower down into chaturanga again. We're going for the other side. So as you come up, shift the weight over to the left side and reach the right arm forward. Circle the right arm backwards and down and lower the hips down towards the mat. Remember, the obliques will lift the hips back up and you reach the right arm back forward. Bring the right hand down, back to plank again, and lower down one more time into chaturanga. I would recommend that you repeat this sequence 4 to 6 times.